Hello, so this is the AeroGear community meeting on the 24th of September. So I believe the first protocol is to review the to-do items. So I'll work through these maybe one by one. Is there any update? Wojciech on the call.
Hi. So I created around this the ticket. Unfortunately, it is not yet started. Like I still have not started it. And I think that nobody else started it. So I think that I can probably put it into the next sprint in our team or something like that.
Okay, so I might leave this then in the to-do. Cool. Add what is code owner to the community site. Laura, you added this card. I can't see any other detail though.
Yes, I think we probably need a volunteer for this. I think Jose had done some of the mailing around this, so it's not around to follow up. So if there's a volunteer, I guess we just want to add whatever outcome we had from those mails. Oh, Dara, I think you also had a mail as well. So just put those two together and add them to the community site, basically. So looking for somebody to do that. Anybody interested?
I can do.
Oh, thanks, Camilla.
I don't know how to assign.
It's the members button at the top. This, yeah.
Cool. So next then we have published the outcome of what is sync discussion. I know that mail was kicked off. Did we have something to publish at the end of it, or I know we had a meeting with Chris about it then as well.
I had started to look at it, Steve, to try and kind of consolidate the different views that were given. So you can assign that to me.
Okay. Cool. Ali, you had this one assigned. Write a summary of GitHub issues workflow.
Yeah, that one had been assigned to me. I only switched it over before call. So I don't think there would be any progress there on Ali's side. But I think it can be sent as part of, I think there's a summary that should have been sent out for last week's call. So maybe you and Ali can sync up and send them together in one mail. It didn't go out last week. That summary could be included there as well, if that made sense. But it was assigned to me initially.
Okay. Okay, so I can sync up with Ali then after this. Cool. So I think that's our to-do done. I didn't leave a comment in this actually. What did we say this was again?
Yeah, I also just asked in the comment section as well if Wojciech can give us some idea of how much time it might take. So we obviously have some scope in the sprint to take in the community work, but it would be good to understand, how much time we want to give to this. Do we want to prioritize particular ones? Like if it's a huge amount of work, we should understand that before taking it in, I guess. So that could be something, Wojciech, that you could do.
I think that what I did, I once I have installed vanilla Fedora and mobile core OpenShift. It took me around 1 day. I think it can be more difficult on other distros, but sure. And with experience, it can be maybe faster.
If you could add that to the card voucher, just the estimates, and if there's any tasks, consideration in the sprint, I think make sure to discuss them at the sprint planning with the team. So there may be others who want to bring in bugs or other tasks into the community scope in the sprint. So I guess just talk as a team about that and what things you want to take in.
Cool. Thanks, guys. So that's the to-do done. So do people want to take some time and we can vote on new items to talk about today? Or are we happy with the order they're in now? I can take top three. Or what do people think?
I think we, Stephen, in case there's any new ones, we normally just take like a minute or so to vote. So, yeah, I think.
So, give it 2 minutes then, and I'll start making noise again. Thanks. Okay, do people feel ready to go reorder wise? I think there's still a bit around this one. around the OCO. I'll just start reordering them. Okay, I'll just take them as they lie. So first one then is Cool Store Demo. So create a companion mobile application with AeroGear services. So Evan added this. I don't know, is Evan on the call? No. So I guess then anybody who voted, Ali, Laura, Pavel, Peter, Wojciech.
Hello, Ali. I can provide a bit more context to this card if you want me to do.
Sure, that'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah, so basically there's a link to proposal. I created the proposal, and basically this proposal was created around the community release time frame, and it is about basically creating some mobile application for the Cool Store demo. And this Cool Store demo is apparently used by marketing, and yeah, so we thought it would be good to have some mobile application for this to increase the visibility of Mobile Next. So yeah, that's why the proposal was created. Yeah, so I think Evan added this card here because there is no activity on this proposal since then. And when I discussed with him why it is so, so my argument was that, or my reasoning was that there is a new shift towards integrately and operators and these things. So we are nowhere near the Mobile Next GA, so to say, or AeroGear productization. So that's why I didn't push this proposal further at this point. And his reasoning was that that the mobile application itself, like the front end, won't change regardless what the backend stuff and operators will or look like. And basically Evan probably wanted to discuss whether we want to move this a bit farther or if we want to wait and if we want to keep waiting with this Cool Store initiative until it's more clear what the AeroGear productized will look like. Yeah, so that's what I know about this card.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think maybe because we don't know the productized final view, maybe right now isn't the best time for this, and also because of the amount of work that it would take to sync into this with everything else that's going on with Integrately and Sync, it might not even be feasible unless people wanted to do it in their spare time as part of the community. I don't really know what I can add as an output of this then. Maybe ask Evan if he has an update or if he wants to provide any more context. Clearly there was, in the last ticket was only created a month ago. People have voted for it, so we were in kind of the same situation a month ago as we are now, so maybe there is still a want for it, or people think it would be a cool idea. So maybe I'll ping Evan.
There
Anybody else
was
have any
also,
opinions?
yeah, my 2 cents is there was also a mail thread about, it was kind of more in the context of Sync than wider AeroGear project, where we talked about maybe some example applications that we could use for Sync. Maybe loop this in as an option. Reach out to Evan and see would that work for him? Could we kind of bring the two together?
You mean move from Cool Store to some kind of sync example app, or have both under one app?
We just talked about what would the possibilities be for example applications and which SDK we'd want to. That's so I know there's the mention of progressive web app in the proposal there, so I think that's probably the angle that Evan's coming from.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe worth a discussion offline, based on the fact that Evan's not here, but reach out and see do those two things kind of align. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, if that's like a mad suggestion.
No, we have definitely discussed the best app or the best schema for Sync, and there's been a number of options there, and we've looked at potentially being able to kind of plug in different templates that would show off Sync in different forms. But maybe Evan is looking at an app here that would make use of multiple of the mobile next services, not just Sync.
Yeah, I wonder, does he know if the Showcase app is there? Or is it like a specific type of application they're looking for? Like, yeah, the Showcase app is more wider across all the services than the Sync apps.
So I think, well, the difference between the Cool Store app and the Showcase app is the Showcase app is for like mobile, but the Cool Store is a sales demo tool. So it's like we do Cool Store here, we do Cool Store here, so it's easy to just have the same app for sales. That's kind of what I think is going on with that. For the Showcase app, Chris, you were mentioning this is kind of a question to everyone that I was thinking about. For that, do we know if operators, if OpenShift operators or Kubernetes operators can be used to deploy a Postgres schema? So when we, so we could just have a playbook that is setting up the Showcase app and have part of that being pushing a schema to Postgres. And that's probably really off topic from topic 10, but it was just something I thought of.
Is that to me or is it to everybody, Summers?
The question about the operator was to everyone.
Everybody, yeah.
Because I think that getting that question would help implement the topic you were talking about.
Does it relate to this application, Summers, that we're talking about, or is it something different?
It would be for the Showcase, not for the Cool Store. But setting up schemas is something that has to be done for Sync, so it would be for any application that used the Sync technology.
Yeah, I would say it's a separate discussion. So if you want to create a card or mention it in some of the Sync documentation stuff, do.
I have on my personal to-do list learning more about operators. So when I do that, I'll try and just spike it in my head and get something a little better than the question of, hey, do we know if this works? So hopefully by next week, I'll have thoughts.
And that might actually inform this as well. If we know what the underlying schema will be, might make it easier to decide what the best app will be for that. Okay, so I don't think there's anything else to talk about in this one really, is there, unless anybody else has any thoughts? So next one, actually this now. Users should not care about tags when the product will be installed. So Camilla, you created this one. Do you want to give us a quick description?
Sure. If you will look at the mobile installer, the mobile core installer currently, is required to clone the project and you run the scripts. In my opinion, I believe that we should do different. One suggestion should be transform this project in a Node project, and so the customer will be required to only install the npm install and run the task. Because it's the main problem is that if you see in the docs, it's required the customer know the text and clone the project. It's two problems. This will solve one. And the other one is another subject that we spoke in other days, I believe it 2 weeks ago, regards the text. We put images like production and other images like develop. So the latest tag will be always the tag that the customer should use. I hope that I could clarify.
Okay, thanks. I have to admit, you lost me a little bit. I think, do you mean when you're installing the core, basically that you've got to git check out a specific tag instead of just, I'm just looking at it there now, sorry.
Stephen, I might be able to add a bit of context.
Yeah.
This kind of relates to the versioning discussion, I guess, that we had, which is progressing separately. So I don't know if we really have a decision to make here. I think it's probably just something that we need to consider in the versioning discussion. The 1.0.0 tag, when you use the mobile core installer, the 1.0.0 refers to the APB versions. And actually, I found out during some work that I was doing around the versioning that it does use the latest tag for the APBs. So I think in terms of the upstream AeroGear, I think this one is fine for now. And when we get to the next version, we need to figure out how we're going to do that. But that conversation is kind of going on now anyway. So how we manage the dev tags as well is going to be part of that discussion. So I don't know if that kind of answers the question that you have there, but we'll kind of be
I think it's part of that discussion, because the way that we define how it works will affect this point. You'll solve or not this point.
Yeah, so I'll definitely add that. I can add this to the notes that around the versioning discussion. So that's
okay. So I was saying that this specific problem that Camilla is describing is actually not a problem anymore, and it's just down to going forward how we version stuff needs to be taken into consideration. Or are we saying that this is still an issue?
Yeah, it would be resolved as part of the versioning discussion. That's not like finalized yet, but it's ongoing. So
okay,
it will be.
So
I can leave a comment in the card, Stephen, if that's
okay. I was just going to ping you. Great.
Right.
Thanks. Next then is resolve the holy war of OC cluster up versus mini shift. So who added this? Lee. Don't think Lee is on the call either, is he? Nope. So Summers, you're leaning towards mini shift.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a slight preference. Minishift works on Linux and Windows, and is because of just how plugins work. It's a lot easier to control a bunch of variables. The downside is that it's also a lot harder to do things like using a device for testing connectivity and that type of stuff, because you have to work a lot more with firewalls and local system setup. So but at the same time, it runs on more platforms more quickly, more easily, and it's easier for us to test and develop against. So that's really just the preference I have. OC cluster up will never go away because Minishift behind the scenes does an OC cluster up, and OC tools will never go away because they control OpenShift. So it's really just answering the question of, does the ease of startup and setup and multi-platform compatibility that Minishift brings offsets the extra headache of using Minishift? And I think once we answer that question, we'll know if we want to use OC Cluster Up or Minishift.
Yeah, I think that's what it has to come down to, is which has the lower barrier to entry. I'd be in favor of Minishift myself. Does anybody else have any opinions?
Yeah, I'm
Does
a
it
plus.
mean that?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll invite you. You go first.
Okay. Does it mean that we are going to test also Windows for running the mobile core and OpenShift? Like we are not probably doing that now. Like in the documentation, it is. I don't know if it is there.
I think what the conclusion would be that not that it's supported, but that it's not blocked. So if somebody wants to try it, they can try it. We're, as you said in the documentation, we don't support Windows, but maybe it'll work. Who knows?
I would say that the level of support we need is in Windows is enough that we can do Xamarin development in Windows. That's really all my opinion is as far as that goes.
Has anybody ever tried it in Windows?
Yeah, it works fine.
Yeah.
Minishift works fine in Windows. OC Cluster Up doesn't, or at least it didn't last time I tried. Windows actually has a lot of really interesting stuff regarding Docker to step around. And also I noticed that it looks like the OpenShift team has some spikes for running OpenShift in, or some OpenShift services using Windows containers instead of Docker containers, which is another complicated beast that Minishift lets us just kind of ignore for now.
Okay. I was thinking that we maybe this idea to use OpenShift and OC Minishift and OC cluster up was only like for the local development of mobile core and this stuff, and like in future wouldn't we have like some like the community cluster or something like that, and develop directly against it, like for the applications and SDKs and so on, like, or are we going to use always the local OpenShift?
I presume we want to still to support people using a community cluster at some point. That the original intention. That's still true. Has there been any change there?
No, there isn't really any change there, Paul. We would support that, but I think the local setup is also important.
Right. So for local development on Linux currently, I can say that the OC cluster up, I can get OC cluster up working fine, and maybe it's just the restrictions of my particular machine. But it was running Minishift. I was running mobile services on Minishift for a long time, and as soon as we switched over to OC cluster up, my experience was terrible, and I eventually got it working, but I never resolved what the actual issue was, and I think it works a lot better in a virtualized environment, which is Minishift, and also running on a Mac, because a Mac isn't Linux, so therefore it isn't native containers, and therefore that separation seems to allow it to work better, ironically.
Okay, I'm not sure what we're coming to as a, or if we're coming to a decision.
I think what I'm hearing is it works better in Minishift, but it doesn't work. But the startup experience in both of them isn't great.
Yeah, and what does that mean work-wise? What does that leave us to do?
Yeah.
Well, today it doesn't run in Minishift at all. So the question is, do we want to support Minishift? There apparently is that issue that I put into the description for this card, which is an OpenShift or a Minishift issue about communication in and out of the Minishift instance. If that's still valid, which I don't know, that would kind of preclude doing any work on Minishift.
Okay, so maybe an investigation whether or not we can connect to Minishift from a phone, and vice versa.
That'll be a first step.
Yeah. Because like you said, without that, it's kind of a non-runner really. Okay, so any volunteers, anybody who's comfortable with OC and feels like they could take a look at this?
Also, just in case if someone's like tempted to volunteer but wouldn't be sure about it, there was some work done by the core team a while back, so there would definitely be some mails with info about it, what the issue was at the time, and probably some people that you could reach out to, whoever was on those mails from the core team would probably give a better insight into what the issue was.
Okay, so sure I can.
Yeah, if someone's kind of like on the fence about thinking that they'd like to do this, but be maybe confident, definitely lots of stuff about this on the mail thread, and people that could reach out to.
Okay, I'll put that in the mail and ask anybody with domain knowledge if they know anything that can help. Cool. So we're actually a minute over. Do these go into to do now, or I suppose I'll have to go through them. Okay. Cool.
They just get moved to discuss, but I can work with you after the call to show you how the labels and things that go on.
Cool. Okay, so unless anybody has anything else, I won't keep you any longer.
All right. See you guys.
See you guys.